How to Date a Married Man, 10 Rules of Engagement, Audiobook, written by Dr. Andre Jerry. Foreword by Angel D. Walker. Dedication. This book is dedicated to anyone who's ever fallen in love with a married man. The foreword for this book was written by my cousin Angel. At the time of this recording, she was unavailable to make the studio. So in the essence of time and to keep the momentum going, I'll be reading the foreword on her behalf. Foreword, written by Angel D. Walker. Have you ever said, "I would never," or "not me"? But what happens when it is you? What do you do when a man makes you question everything you thought was wrong? Where do you go when life has led you into a dark place where society frowns upon you and even your own mother is disappointed in you? To whom do you turn for guidance and support when there is no one you can share your secret with? Life is not always the blueprint of rules you have been taught throughout the years. Situations are not always black and white. Sometimes the heart and the mind do not work together, and you find yourself in a battle between right and wrong. I never understood how women got themselves in these situations until I was that woman. We don't always seek the situations we end up in. Although many may not understand, there are some people that do. If you ever find yourself dealing with a forbidden love, this book is for you. It is not comprised of judgments and lectures, but rather rules of engagement that you must apply when you find yourself being the other woman in his life. Sincerely yours, Angel. Prologue. Okay, I know what you're probably thinking. What kind of person would write a book about this topic? How is a man qualified to write on this topic? Is the author a married man? Has the author dated married men? Does the author even have a moral compass? Okay, so let me say this from the outset. I don't encourage anyone to knowingly pursue a married man. That's not the purpose of this book. However, in the words of my mother, whom I miss dearly, there's a right way to do wrong. For individuals who find themselves in this type of situation, whether it was discovered later into the relationship or you end up having a fling and or falling in love with a man who just so happens to be married, there are rules of engagement that you must follow should you choose to continue in or indulge in this type of relationship. With regard to my credentials as a subject matter expert on this particular topic, I can assure you that I am uniquely qualified to discuss, advise, and consult accordingly. Throughout my dating history, which spans over 25 years, wow, I've been at this a long time, I have been involved in all sorts of relationships, okay? Dalliances, situationships, entanglements, love triangles, flings, one-night stands, and yes, affairs with married men. Moreover, I have experience with many types of relationship dynamics. I've been in healthy relationships, toxic relationships, codependent relationships, long-distance relationships, love-hate relationships, open relationships, gay relationships, DL relationships, down low for anyone who doesn't know what DL is, straight relationships, friends with benefits relationships, abusive relationships. I've been the abused and I've been the abuser. Relationships where I've been cheated on, and relationships where I've been the cheater. The most important qualifier, however, is my manhood. As a man, I biologically understand our physical and emotional needs, inner feelings, weaknesses, and fears. I've had numerous sexual encounters and full-on relationships with married men and have learned through trial and error how to navigate that terrain. So yes, my life experiences have qualified me to write a book on this subject and many others as it pertains to love and relationships. Rule number 1, the boy isn't mine. So one of my favorite hits from the late 90s was "The Boy Is Mine," performed by arguably two of the top reigning R&B princesses of that era, Brandy and Monica. Now, at the time I wrote this book, I had no idea that these two ladies would eventually end up on what is now called the Boy Is Mine tour, which I hear is pretty good, by the way. But originally, this song was released as the lead single from both singers' sophomore albums and included lyrics that revolved around two women fighting over the same man. The Boy Is Mine was a #1 crossover hit for both artists in the US and internationally, and it became an anthem for young women across the globe. The music video for this song starred Brandy and Monica, of course, and also Mekhi Phifer as the love interest. While the video's climax portrayed a united front between two scorned young women, this is hardly the norm in reality. The suggested images, however, depicted an age-old story: two women sharing one man. Now, the biggest problem women make when dealing with married men is thinking of them as their man. That is not your man. He can be your baby, he can be your daddy, he can be your boyfriend, he can be your boo, whatever you want to call him. He can be your friend, but you never want to think of him as your man. That's the first thing. That's rule #1. And I'm not saying this to devalue you or malign you or to make you feel some type of way. I'm just trying to give you a reality check so that you can keep the proper mindset and not leave yourself open to heartbreak and heartache down the road. Okay? Always keep in mind that this man has a wife, and she is the one that has a rightful and legal claim over him and all of his stuff, all of his assets. Therefore, regardless of how much time you guys spend together, what pet names he gives you, how much money he spends on you, how many trips you all take together, or how much he claims he loves you, keep the following phrase at the forefront of your mind at all times: the boy isn't mine. Rule #2, adjust your expectations. Okay, so now that you are no longer confused and have the proper understanding that the boy isn't mine and likely never will be, you are now better positioned to navigate this relationship with the appropriate mindset. However, there is still more that you need to consider about this type of affair. What are your expectations for this type of relationship? If it's for him to eventually leave his wife for you, I'm sure you've watched enough Lifetime and Hallmark movies to know that's likely not going to happen. Okay, I don't care how fine you are, how good you are in bed, how masterful you are at sucking dick, how much shit he talks to you about his wife. He's not going to leave his wife, okay? So with that in mind, you just need to adjust your expectations accordingly. Since he'll likely never propose to you on bended knee, and if he does, run like hell, you need to be okay with being, at best, a long-term girlfriend. The key to this type of relationship is to keep your expectations at a realistic level and to just have fun with it. I know you're probably thinking something like, how can I have fun at the expense of someone else? That's not your concern, okay? I'm going to talk about that in a later chapter. But don't overly romanticize this affair. Enjoy the attention. Enjoy all of the doting, the gifts, the trips, the conversations you have. And yes, of course, enjoy the sex. However, don't allow yourself to be put in a position where you're constantly disappointed because your fairy tale didn't come true. Extramarital affairs are like roller coasters. Enjoy the ride until it's time to move on. Rule #3, know your end game. Now that we've established the appropriate mindset required to avoid the disappointment that stems from unrealistic expectations and a false sense of security and entitlement, we can now discuss the end game. Now, when I say know your end game, I'm asking you to consider what your desired outcome looks like. Outcome is not to be confused with expectation, which was discussed in the previous chapter. An expectation is somewhat intangible. It's something hoped for, an ideal. An example would be a happy marriage. Now, an outcome is a tangible, quantifiable, and definitive result. An example of that would be married with 2 kids by age 30. You notice the difference? All right. So now we're going to talk about a few common outcomes to expect whenever you're dating a married man. The first common outcome is he leaves his wife to be with you. Okay, you may think this is what you want, but it really isn't. The second outcome is you find out that you're one of several other women or men he's cheating with. Now, this sucks because it makes you feel just stupid. And I'll give you a word of caution. This outcome will really hit you hard if you fail to heed rules number 1 and 2 in the previous chapters. Okay. All right. Number 3. This is the third common outcome in this situation. You leave the relationship feeling stupid, dejected, used, and with zero to show for it. The fourth common outcome is his wife finds out about you. That sucks. We don't want that. The fifth most common outcome, and this is the one that you really want. You leave the relationship feeling sad that it's over, but appreciative and content with the love and the memories you share together. You've grown spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and financially from your involvement with this person, with this married man. So as I mentioned before, this is what's ideal. You may think it's for him to leave his wife to be with you, but that's not really what you want. Number 5 is the ideal outcome that you should strive for if you're going to be in this situation. And I know some of you who may already be in this situation may feel that outcome number 1 is the most desirable outcome for you. And that's okay. I understand that. But it's a delusion. Okay. It's a fantasy. It's a fairy tale. Yes, it could come true. It could happen. But it's not really what you want. It's kind of similar to a young child who secretly hopes that his divorced parents is going to get back together someday. Like I said, it could happen, but in all likelihood, it probably won't. So don't even set yourself up for that type of disappointment. And even let's say it did happen. Would you really want to live with the constant fear that he would eventually cheat on you one day? So knowing your end game from the outset will help keep you emotionally grounded and focused while you're in this type of whirlwind romance. Rule number 4, know your role. All right, so I'm going to give you a warning up front. I'm going to talk a lot about chess in this section. So if you're not a big fan of chess or don't know how to play it, you might want to learn or at least pay close attention to the analogies that I mentioned in this section because it's very integral to your mastery of this concept. Okay? All right, so when you're dating a married man, it's very important to always know your role. Like I said before, I'm not sure how familiar you are with chess, but think of the wife as the queen in a chess game. Now, the queen is known for being the baddest bitch on the board because unlike the other chess pieces, the queen can maneuver however she pleases across the board. She can move diagonally, she can move horizontally, vertically, as many squares as desired. And she can take pieces by moving on to their square. Because of this powerful range of movement that the queen has, she is the most valuable chess piece on the chessboard after the king. She's worth 9 pawns. Okay. And I hope you can follow along with the illustration in the digital copy. But despite how you or the king, the husband, may feel about the queen, the wife, her role is to be respected. Just as in a game of chess, the queen yields much power and influence over the king. And believe it or not, even in your relationship with him. So regardless of any plans you may have made with the king, dinner, a movie, a romantic getaway on the weekend, an intimate evening at your place, whatever it is, those plans will always be subject to the demands of the queen. So always remain cognizant of the fact that at a moment's notice, your married man may have to cancel on you at the last minute, particularly when there's children involved. No man, I don't care who he is, unless he's a complete fool, is going to put you ahead of his wife and kids, cheater or not. So you're probably asking, okay, what role do I play in this? Well, you, my friend, are a pawn. Allow me to explain. When I reference you as a pawn in this game, I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I understand we typically think of pawns in a negative connotation, but I challenge you to consider pawns from a different perspective. Pawns play an integral part in the game of chess. They determine the type of game, whether it's going to be open or closed, and the moves that pawns make can block or clear a path, which determines the fate of most pieces or even the game itself. I want to read you a quote from Francois-Andre Daniken-Philidor. He says, "Pawns are the soul of the game. They alone create attack and defense. The way they are deployed decides the fate of the game." So, with respect to the power of the pawn, it's also important to note that pawns can be promoted. In chess, promotion is the replacement of a pawn with a new queen, rook, bishop, or knight. It occurs immediately when the pawn moves to its last rank, when the pawn makes it to the last row on the opposite side of the board. Since the queen is the most powerful piece, promotion is always to a queen. Promotion to a queen is what's known as queening. Promotion to any other piece is known as under promotion. Under promotion may be done for various reasons, such as to avoid a stalemate, and that's when a player has no legal move. It's basically a draw, or due to the knight's unique movement pattern. Promotion or the threat of it often decides the result in an endgame. So now that you understand the differences between how the queen moves versus how pawns move, hopefully you can appreciate a little more the importance of treading carefully in your dealings with the king, the husband. As a pawn, you don't have the flexibility that the queen has, so don't even try to flex your muscles or move the way she moves. You can't do that. That's going to be a violation of the game's rules. However, with the proper strategy in place, you can outmaneuver the opposition and position yourself for promotion. Keep in mind that there are different types of pawns, okay? And you need to decide from the onset which type of pawn you want to be. For the purpose of this illustration that I'm going to use, I'll discuss two of the most commonly used terms to describe a pawn, okay? Strong and weak. A strong pawn is one that is well supported and usually controls important squares or its territory. Now, weak pawns are generally more difficult to defend and easy to attack. Pawns are defenders of the king. A strong pawn understands that they are defenders of the king. They understand that, and they're very methodical in his or her actions. A pawn can't move backwards, okay? So any move that it makes is permanent. Pawns are a crucial defensive line, and moving them in a haphazard way creates weakness around the king. This underscores the importance of being a strong player in this figurative game of chess. Think carefully before you make a move. Don't behave in a manner that will place the king or yourself in harm's way. If you're going to play this game, learn the rules, know your role, and be strategic. Rule number 5, speak no evil. Now, a lot of you are going to have difficulty with this rule because I did. until I learned better. Okay. When dating a married man, there will inevitably be times where he's going to vent to you about his wife. Don't fall for this trap. Now, when I say this, I don't mean to imply that the man is intentionally playing mind games or anything like that. You may very well be the only sounding board he has about his frustrations with the marriage. Nevertheless, I want you to do your best to allow him the opportunity to vent, but without offering an opinion. Remember this, not everyone who shares a problem with you is looking for advice. Oftentimes they just need to get it off their chest. So if he asks for your opinion, it's okay to give it to him. However, I would refrain from giving any unsolicited marital advice and or commentary about his marriage. I also would highly suggest that you not get caught up in his emotional turmoil as it relates to his wife. Even if he's dogging her out to you verbally, calling her all types of bitches and hoes and stupid, whatever he says, allow him to do all of this without really weighing in. Just be that sounding board. And I know this may be difficult depending on your feelings about her and how much you care about him, but make an earnest effort. If you participate in verbal assaults against his wife, be warned that that could possibly backfire. Because regardless of his frustrations with her, the marriage, bear in mind that they still have history and possibly children together. What's more, he's more than likely still in love with her. So if you are constantly talking shit about his wife, he might not ever say anything about it, but rest assured that he has taken a mental note of that. And he may be even subconsciously developing a resentment towards you. Remember this, if he will allow you to talk shit about his wife, then he will most certainly allow another woman to talk shit about you. Another reason I ask you to refrain from this type of behavior is for your own protection. If you allow yourself to get caught up in his problems with his wife and all of this stuff, you may run the risk of getting too emotionally invested and positioning yourself as her rival unnecessarily. Don't fall into this pattern of behavior. It's only going to cause undue stress and heartache. If you're not careful, you're going to find yourself walking around pissed off whenever he's with his wife and family. You'll be conjuring up all types of scenarios in your mind about him having sex with his wife. And, before you know it, you're texting and calling at inappropriate times and feeling like he's cheating on you with his own wife. All of that is out of order. Let me just say this, and this may sting a little, but it's the truth. It's none of your business when or how often he sleeps with his wife. That's his wife. That's his business. Your job is to be the fantasy. And we'll talk about that in rule number 6. So speak no evil about the wife. You're already sleeping with the lady's husband. There's no need to add insult to injury by talking shit about the lady constantly. Okay? So remember, speak no evil. Rule number 6, be the fantasy. Okay, so if you were to just apply this one rule, you would really enjoy and get a lot of benefit out of this roller coaster ride that you're on until it ends. Whenever this man is with you, your objective should be to make him forget, albeit temporarily, anything that causes him stress. Remember why he's with you in the first place. He's with you because of some need, want, or desire his wife is not fulfilling satisfactorily. So your job is to figure out what those unmet needs are and satisfy them. Now, I know you're probably thinking, but what about my needs? I'll discuss your needs in the next chapter, okay? But for right now, I want you to focus on customer service and making sure that the customer, the husband, is happy. Now, before you start catching an attitude and contorting your face, no, I'm not implying that you're a prostitute or a hoe. I'm merely suggesting another prism through which you can view this dynamic to aid in your understanding of how you should be thinking. Okay? Be the fantasy. If a man takes the huge risk of stepping out on his marriage and potentially destroying his family, home, and finances, you better be damn sure he has a good reason for it, in his mind at least. Now, his wife is probably not even a bad person. She just lacks something that he needs right now, that he wants, that he desires. Look, you can't have everything in a spouse. You have to compromise on something. That something is where you should excel. And a lot of times, I'll be honest with you, it's not even physical. Remember this, most men cheat because of how the other woman makes him feel. So when I say be the fantasy, I'm encouraging you to really learn your guy and what his deepest desires are. Without prying too much into his marriage, try to find out what he's lacking. Find out what makes him tick, because oftentimes men step outside of their marriage to satisfy an emotional need. He may not have a spouse who will listen to him talk about his dreams and ambitions. She may view them as stupid or trivial or a waste of time. Or perhaps his wife doesn't make him feel comfortable being his authentic self. Maybe he's a big kid at heart and likes to play video games or instruments or whatever. Maybe he has one of those annoying wives who doesn't want him to watch porn. I want you to remember this, especially to you wives who have bought this book. If you don't allow your husband to indulge in his fantasies at home, he's going to indulge in them outside of the home. I'm always amazed at wives who don't offer a massage when their husband tells them their back hurts, or that they've had a long day, or that they're stressed, or whatever the case is. The man is telling you that for a reason. And of course this goes both ways, but right now we're talking about the husband. Or those wives who don't have a hot home cooked meal ready for their husbands when they get home from work. I know some of this sounds antiquated, but just hear me out. This type of neglect leads to a man seeking comfort outside of the marriage. If you have a man who does intense physical labor every day, even if it's mental labor, these corporate jobs, they can wreak havoc on your mind too. But if you have a man that works hard and you have the privilege of working from home or being a housewife or a stay-at-home mom or whatever the case is, there is no reason that the man should not come home to a hot bath, a hot meal, and yes, every now and then some hot sex. Matter of fact, every other day. Every day is a little bit too much. I'm not going to put that on the woman. But again, listen, your job is to be the fantasy. I'm talking to the mistresses here. Your job is to be the fantasy. Your job is not to argue, debate, belittle, ignore, withhold sex, nag, annoy, curse out, or tell him no. He gets enough of that at home from his wife. Your home should be a fun place. It should be an environment where he feels comfortable being his true, authentic self. If a man can be himself around you, then you can best believe he's going to want to make time to be with you, right? So be the fantasy. If he wants to have a threesome, clearly his wife is not down for that. He probably wouldn't even dare to mention something like that to her, but make sure that he feels comfortable sharing that type of stuff with you. If he does, do your best to make it happen. If you have boundaries, okay, I understand that. But, even if you don't want to share him with another woman in a threesome situation, just think about it this way. You're already sharing him with his wife and quite possibly several other women you don't know about. So you might as well set yourself apart from the others and make the threesome happen or whatever he wants to do. The point I'm making here is whatever desires he shares with you, create a safe space to make him comfortable to share those type of things with you. And do your best to be the fantasy. Rule number 7, pay to play. So this section of the book is where we discuss your needs. If you're going to embark on an illicit extramarital affair, you need to be comfortable with the idea of being the villain and not getting your fairy tale ending. With this in mind, it's best to ensure that you are at least well compensated for your time. Now, I know that sounds very prostitutish, but just allow me to explain. Since we have established that you will likely not end up with the man in the end, you want to at least have some assurance that if and when this relationship ends, that you're not left without anything to show for your time, your energy, your efforts, your tears. Anytime you're dealing with a married man, there should be, forget married man. Anytime you're dealing with a man, there should be some financial benefit associated with it. Okay? If you're allowing some married man, any man, to come over and have his way with you whenever he wants without some sort of financial arrangement in place, you are being a fool. Pleasure comes with a price. Initially, it could be something as simple as having him bring over a bottle of your favorite wine. Never create an expectation that a man can come to your door empty-handed and still get what he wants. So if you're squeamish about asking for money directly, then have him bring something you need for the house. Like I said, a bottle of your favorite wine, a carton of eggs, some milk, some champagne, some light bulbs, something. Or tell him you're about $300 short on your rent or your mortgage, or that your gas tank is low. He'll get the point. The key is to get the man in the habit of giving and get him in the habit of meeting your immediate needs. Because after all, you're meeting his needs, right? So shouldn't he likewise meet yours? Remember, this is a pay to play game. So by all means, make sure that there is a financial benefit to you being in this situation. If he wants to play, he gotta pay. Rule number 8, weather the cold shoulder. Look, I know that dating a married man can seem like an exciting whirlwind romance. These types of relationships typically start out hot and heavy and have no shortage of intensity and passion. You probably felt butterflies you haven't felt since high school. However, after a few weeks or a few months, you could find yourself in the throes of romantic bewilderment, wondering why your summer fling has suddenly fizzled into an icy winter cold front. Now, while there could be numerous reasons for this shift, I'm going to share with you one of the most likely causes based on my experience. I want you to remember this. Men have emotions too. Often in romantic relationships with the other woman, a man can be caught off guard by his own emotions. These feelings can surf quickly and without warning, leaving him feeling off balance, vulnerable, and out of control. When this happens, it's normal for him to retreat or try to distance himself from the relationship in an effort to gain a sense of control over what's happening. Additionally, you may even encounter episodes of jealousy and possessiveness from him. Although not in all cases, this type of behavior can signal some hidden fears he may have, such as, does she really love me? Meaning the other woman. Am I being played? What if she's involved with other guys? What if I like her more than she likes me? What happens if I fall for this woman? Could this be a setup? Will she expose me if she doesn't get her way? Those are just some of the questions and common fears that men contend with when they're involved in extramarital affairs. There may very well be a period in the relationship, likely within the first few weeks, where he sort of pulls away or becomes distant. The key to navigating this scenario is to first and foremost be understanding. When this first happens, it's completely normal to think that it has something to do with you, because that's what I thought until I learned better. But rest assured, this change in behavior from him is probably not even your fault. He's likely dealing with a whole host of emotions, things like unexpected feelings towards you, feeling guilt and shame for being in an extramarital affair. A lot of times, the more pleasure you give a man, the more guilt and shame he'll feel afterward, if it's a situation where he's cheating on someone. He may be dealing with paranoia or have this feeling like this is too good to be true. He just may need some time to work through these feelings. So be patient with him. Don't force him to confront or talk about these feelings. Just allow him the opportunity to process his feelings in his own time. Follow his lead. The important thing is to give him the space he needs, but still be there for him when he's ready to open up about what he's feeling or when he's ready to re-engage the relationship. Now, you should also be prepared for the possibility that he may freak out and end the relationship altogether. Again, this probably has nothing to do with you. Oftentimes, men can become overwhelmed by their own emotions and feelings of guilt and shame, or the fear of getting caught. Sometimes they decide that the risk is not worth the reward, and that's okay. Like the weather, these types of relationships can be fickle. The key is to be alert and accommodating and remain adaptable. Rule number 9, never put all your eggs in one basket. So with the understanding that there can be unpredictable ebbs and flows in relationships with married men, it's important not to put all your eggs in one basket. Meaning, it would be prudent of you to have a roster of gentlemen callers available to entertain you in the event that your main guy becomes distant or otherwise unavailable. And the reason why this is important is because it will keep you from playing yourself. Okay? If you've put all of your time and energy into this one guy, it can be very disheartening when or if he puts you on ice or starts acting funny. However, if you have other guys on standby, then they can sort of serve as a buffer or a much needed distraction from the problems that you're having with your married man. Now, when dealing with a married man, there sometimes may be a significant gap in between the times you can see each other. This could be due to familial obligations, financial problems, work-related pressures, emotional distress, or some other distraction. If you're more on the needy side, this could be an issue, which reinforces my point that you should explore other connections outside of your married man. Even if you're not a needy person, I would still say it would be best to explore other connections. In doing so, please make sure you use discretion, okay? You never want to flaunt another man in front of the married man just to be cute or to prove that you have other options or to try to make him jealous, because this type of game could lead to a potentially volatile situation. Moreover, you could risk losing him altogether. So keep in mind that your married man may have a lot going on emotionally. He could be suffering from one or more of the hidden fears that I referenced in the previous chapter. So it's important that you don't stoke these fears by being indiscreet. Now, if he happens to see you out with another man by coincidence, then that's a different situation. Understandably, his pride and ego may be hurt. I get that. But you don't owe him any explanation in that instance. He may even press you for an explanation about who the guy was or about your dealings with him, but it's completely up to you how much information you disclose, if any. If it were me, I'd probably mention, this guy is a good friend of mine that I sometimes hang out with, but anything beyond that is none of his business. It would be the same if you were to see him out with his wife or some other woman. You may feel jealous or angry or whatever, but you certainly would not be in a position to demand answers. So if you encounter this scenario and your married man has the audacity to demand that you not see other men, then he is in effect proposing a different type of arrangement, one that comes with a significant price tag. This is an elevated status referred to as being a kept woman. This type of arrangement is typically reserved for wealthy and upper echelon offerers who have access to numerous rental properties. If you are upgraded to this status, you are now in another category where new rules apply. However, if he's making this type of demand without an offer of some sort, then he is completely out of order and needs to be put in his place. Let him know in no uncertain terms that for him to even parse his lips to ask something like this, he needs to be prepared to, at the minimum, pay your rent or mortgage, along with all of the requisite overhead expenses. If he's not willing or able to do that, he needs to have a seat, and you should continue seeing whomever you please. Rule number 10, men are like cars. Remember, men are like cars. Some are more reliable than others. It's important to assess early on what type of car you're driving. Is this a car that can take you to your destination, or is it only capable of getting you from point A to point B? Some cars are unreliable and can break down on you at the worst possible time. Some cars are loyal and reliably take you wherever you need to go time and time again. There are some cars that are fast and fun to drive. Others may have a slower and smoother ride that you can appreciate sometimes too. Newer cars can be exciting to drive, yet there's nothing like an older classic that still looks good and runs well. There are cars that you might be interested in buying, but you may want to test drive them first. Sometimes it may be appropriate to lease the car with an option to buy it at some point in the future. Lastly, some cars are just rentals. You drive the shit out of them and gas them up before turning them back in. You get the point. If men are like cars, then that suggests that you are the driver. A driver should always know his or her destination and choose the appropriate vehicle that can get him or her there safely and efficiently. If you don't have a destination in mind, then surely any car will do. If you're in a car that you no longer feel safe driving or that you feel cannot take you where you want to go, it's perfectly fine to trade it in for another. Additionally, if you are navigating terrain that you know your chosen car isn't equipped to handle, you are risking a breakdown that could possibly leave you stranded and vulnerable. When borrowing someone else's car, especially without their permission, you must be extremely careful not to leave any scratches, dents, or other marks on it. Furthermore, you don't want to leave behind any personal effects that might signal the car has been driven by someone else. It's also important to return the car in the condition you found it. In doing so, you greatly decrease the likelihood of the owner suspecting another driver. Lastly, drive safe, follow the rules of the road, and enjoy the ride. Epilogue. Regardless of your title, wife, husband, mistress, kept woman, kept man, divorcee, single, supporter, or critic, I hope this book was useful to you in some way. As I stated in the prologue, it is not my intention to encourage or glorify infidelity, nor am I advocating the pursuit of married men. However, life happens, and we can sometimes find ourselves in a precarious situation that we never anticipated. This book is intended to assist those entranced in the delicate dance of a forbidden romance, providing them with a set of rules that will make their path less difficult should they choose to remain on it. To those of you who haven't yet tasted the nectar of forbidden fruit, it may be difficult for you to appreciate the plight of the mistress or to refrain from judging her. Not every woman involved with a married man is a predator or incorrigible homewrecker. Many of them are misled or otherwise manipulated by the man. Others may be willing participants who went into it with their eyes wide open. Nonetheless, as someone who has lived this experience, I can sympathize with all involved, the mistress, the husband, and the wife. When the sun sets, we all desire to be loved the way we are, at our best or in our brokenness. Bonus material. A message from the author. The following bonus material includes poetry from my literary debut, Write or Die, Expressions of Life, Love, and Loss, Volume 1. These poems are relevant to the subject matter, and they were composed during a time in my life when I was falling deeply in love with a married man. As an author, it is my hope that you, the reader, will connect emotionally to the feelings expressed, and perhaps understand that beneath every good or bad decision exists a person who wants to be seen, appreciated, and loved. I hope you enjoy. The title of this poem is called After He Leaves. I never thought I'd be that guy, but I need for you to leave your wife, because I need you in my life, not in fragments or pieces. I want all of your attention. Let me be the one you hold at night. That would make everything all right. Can't you see how happy you are with me? It breaks my heart after you leave, running back to a loveless home and leaving the one you love alone, with only the lingering scent of your cologne on my pillow. Instantly, I miss you. Incessantly, I think of you. I whisper softly in the air, Te amo mucho. These words travel from my mouth to your heart, and nothing will ever keep us apart. You are the man I love, and I'm the one you adore, the one you do anything for. My heart is all yours, because you gave me yours first. The title of this poem is I Love You Already. When we had our first kiss, I knew I'd fall hard. From the moment I met you, I let down my guard. Your calm demeanor and friendly eyes welcomed me to your heart and into your life. And now, it's incandescent where there was no light. You make everything that was wrong right. The clouds disappeared when you appeared, and the despair I felt is no longer here. It is said happiness comes from within, but I have felt happier since we've been friends. I love you already, and I never want this feeling to come to an end. The title of this poem is Intimacy is Into Me See. You made love to me. Oh my God, it felt so good. You made love to me and I felt pleasure I never thought I would. Your hands were gentle and yet they were strong. They caressed my entire body all night long. You made love to me. It felt so right. My desire for love was realized in those moments of the night. You made love to me. It was our first time. You drowned me in your kisses, fulfilling my deepest wishes. My most secret desires have come to fruition. You are all I ever wanted, everything I ever dreamed, all the things I imagined I could possibly ever need. Please don't let this be a dream. Please don't let this feeling leave. Keep making love to me. We both deserve this feeling. Into me, see. I crave it, your intimacy. This poem is titled, The Prospect of Me and You. I met someone today, a beautiful man who brightened my day. Approachable and kind, very easy to talk to. I was nervous to meet him, and I could tell he was too. We met by appointment, sort of like a blind date. It almost seemed like a mistake. But when I looked into his eyes, I knew it was fate. If you believe in love at first sight, then you can relate. There was an electric energy in the atmosphere. There is no doubt we belong here. Before you, life was dull, despondent and blue, but now My heart is pounding at the prospect of me and you. The title of this poem is Truly Desired. How Does It Feel? Lonely night, thinking of you since midnight, wishing we were together, remembering our first time, how magical it was. A beautiful day in every possible way. I want to feel it again, the sensation of your body pressed against mine, the look in your eyes when you're deep inside, making me feel what I need, making me need what I feel. This is how it feels to be loved and truly desired. Intense passion that burns like a fire, my body screaming with pleasure and emotions that can't be measured. I love you in this moment, and the moments thereafter. I am totally enraptured because my heart has been captured. I am bound to you. No other person will do. Babe, I wish you were here so that I could just touch you, make sure you're real and not a dream, a figment of my imagination that isn't what it seems. So hurry back to me. I don't like it when you're gone. I'm thinking of you tonight while I'm home all alone. The title of this poem is In Retrospect. Looking back on it, it was love at first sight. From the moment I saw you, I had butterflies, and I still have them. They flutter inside me when I'm around you. My heart pounds with intensity, and I'm in ecstasy when you're next to me. And I know that you don't want to know how I feel because it makes everything too real, too much for you to deal, because you have feelings too, perhaps even stronger than the ones I have for you, only for you. I think you're amazing and you're feeling me too. Admit it, babe, you want me just as much as I want you, but you'll never admit it because that's just you. This isn't romance, it's a delicate dance with intricate steps that one must learn to keep both parties from being burned. It's somewhat tragic, but when we're together, it feels like magic. If only it could be one day, just you and me, we would be so happy. Oh, I wish you could see just how much you mean to me. The title of this poem is Love Should. You make me feel this way, like new, brand new. Really, really good. You make me feel the way I always thought love should. When we're together, I'm at my best. All I think about is you, and I forget the rest. You are my only guy, my leading man, my source of supply for all things love, the one I've always dreamed of. When we're together, I'm on top of the moon, and whenever we part, it's always too soon. Babe, I'm so in love with you. I know it sounds elementary, but you bring out the best in me. I feel like I can do anything when you are next to me. So never leave my side and just love me. The title of this poem is Expletive You. No, I am not like you, nor do I desire to be. You like to compare and contrast your Christendom to mine, which makes you Christendom in my eyes, because you fail to see that God also lives in me. Though I choose to live, albeit a little differently, that does not change what I believe or how he views me. He loves me the same as he loves you, regardless of the differences in our two views. I don't need for you to approve anything I may say or do. Therefore, I herewith reject your reproof of me, because it was given unlovingly. There's a proper way to readjust another without causing a rift between brothers. The Bible speaks of being offended, especially when no harm was intended. Historically, it has been a rumor that Christians have no sense of humor. I guess you're no exception to this perception. Moving forward, if you feel the need to admonish me, then do so lovingly and perhaps privately, in a manner in which I can hear it. Otherwise, you may bother my spirit. In closing, let not my manner of speech be a cause of offense to you, particularly when it doesn't concern you. I don't need you to accost me for anything I say or do. And if you take issue with that or anything I've said, then Expletive You. Praise for Author by Zane Edwards. As a published author and advocate of my latest book, Reality of Truth for All, Dr. Jerry has shared with the readers a first-hand experience of the reality of truth. Many view the topic of dating a married man as controversial, immoral, and may be very opinionated about it. Reality can sometimes be harsh as we go through our journey in life. Desire has a great impact on the human heart. When we choose a path, we must always consider the end game and purpose. Dr. Jerry has provided the readers with 10 rules to consider when dating a married man. Desire is the longing of the heart to fulfill without limitations. We must always be cognizant of the consequences we will face for the path we choose. About the author. Dr. Andre Jerry is an entrepreneur, author, publisher, scholar, former U.S. diplomat, and founder of Just Be Cards. A Georgia native, he earned his doctorate in international business at Liberty University, which is among the most preeminent Christian universities in the world and one of the largest private nonprofit universities in the United States. Dr. Jerry has published 3 successful books, including Write or Die, Expressions of Life, Love, and Loss, Volume 1, which is Dr. Jerry's literary debut as an author and poet. Life's Lyrics, Life Lessons to Help Young Men Transition into Manhood, written by Zane Edwards, and How to Date a Married Man, 10 Rules of Engagement, which has solidified Dr. Jerry as an expert in the love and relationships genre. A gifted orator and motivational speaker, Dr. Jerry is an active member of Toastmasters International and has appeared as a guest on numerous podcasts and radio shows, including Relevant with Renata, hosted by Renata Morgan. In August of 2022, Dr. Jerry joined the Artist First Radio Network as host of Live with Dr. Andre Jerry, which offers commentary on various topics including love and relationships, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and health and wellness. This concludes the audiobook edition of How to Date a Married Man, 10 Rules of Engagement, written and narrated by Dr. Andre Jerry. Hey, thank you for listening with an open mind and an honest heart. The insights I shared in this book are meant to bring clarity, awareness, and understanding, not judgment. So wherever you are in your journey, may you move forward with wisdom, self-respect, and intention. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Just Be Cards, LLC.